Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now.
Got my book.
I know. I saw that. How does that make you feel?
It's an incredible feeling. It's so amazing. I'm so proud how it looks, to hold it, to kind of go through it, to read it. It is pretty amazing.
It's such an accomplishment. I know when I did mine, I was like, I can't believe it. I am in print. You're leaving a legacy.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And on the other side, it is a little excitement and vulnerability now, because now people start to read it and they can have their vision on it, right? Their perception. So yeah, we'll see.
And be open to whatever their perception is, because when you create that body of work, you're giving birth.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that definitely felt that way. And I think this was my hardest one.
Exactly. And some people are going to love it, others may criticize, but take that criticism as a way to improve on your next body of work, or
Yes.
toss it out the window and don't let it count at all. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But I'm so excited, and the dogs were a big part of my lessons. And anytime when people are looking different to it, I just think that there's still a lot to learn.
It is a lot to learn, and we're going to learn a lot with you here on the Edge. Brains,
Yes.
We have Arianne with us today. I'm so excited. Are you an animal enthusiast? Do you communicate with your animals maybe better than with humans? She is an expert. We are going to talk to her about the work that she does with support animals, dogs right now, but she's even worked in a zoo. And I'm going to ask her about that. And as you just heard in the introduction, she is a brand new author. She has given birth to a body of work. So we're going to talk to her about that and ask her what's inside the pages of those books. So nice to see you, Arianne.
I am super excited. Thank you so much, April, that I am here, and I am excited to share a little bit about the book. And here it is.
Absolutely. It is so good. You look so happy. I'm happy.
Yeah, it is.
I saw you do the unboxing online, and so I had to share that with other people. It's just an incredible feeling. So tell my brains a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I am Arianne de Rond, and I live about 12 years in Canada now. But before that, and everybody knows if they hear my accents, I lived in the Netherlands. And we were in the agriculture, and we didn't see any future for us. So what we said together is, let's move to Canada, because there is still opportunity there. So we did that 12 years ago with 4 kids at that time, in the age of 3 till 8. So 4 in 5 years, pretty busy.
Well, you were planting some seeds, that's for sure.
Yes. And our 2 dogs, who we brought right with us, because they're just part of our family. And I always had dogs my whole life. I was born beside a dog, and so did my kids. They were born beside the dogs. And I had my dogs all life, and they were a big part, because anytime where I didn't feel understand or lonely, I always had a dog. So I didn't have to feel that way. And that was pretty amazing. And I'm so glad that I can give that to my kids. And but everything changed when I got kids, because working with animals my whole life and then having kids, there is some priority in there, right? And if one is not listening, then the other one is not listening. It is always a choice. So I figured out that it's not as easy to train dogs in the same way with 4 kids beside me. So things changed. And you know what? It's pretty incredible if you're open to it, because you get the right dog that fits in your life at that moment. It just helps you to move through things. It helps you to be aware where you can still grow. And that little journey, what I got with kids and dogs together, brought me to where I wrote my book now, Be the Change for Your Dog. Because all the lessons that I gave my kids to kind of develop their unique personality, I want my dogs to do that too.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what type of dogs do you have? What breeds or
So
dogs?
right now I have a yellow lab, a Labrador. She is almost 5 years old, and she is a therapy dog as well. And we will get back later on that, right? And then I have a black Labrador. She is about 1.5. And we have a rescue dog in the house that is my daughter's dog. And he's kind of a mix of a Weimaraner and a lab. He's really fast.
Mm. Mm.
But because he was a rescue, we got him at 10 months and we were the 5th owner. So that was a whole journey on its own. We still work with him every day to build that confidence. She just came back from town where there's a lot of trucks and tractors in our country. And he's like still not secure about himself that he can handle that. So slowly we take those steps. And also with my other dogs, like every dog has his own things, and sometimes we have setbacks. But if we are aware and look at our dogs, then we can see if they're confident or not. And if they're not, it's our job to make them confident again.
It is, but sometimes it's scary because some animals can be aggressive. Okay, and I have to put it on the flip side of that. I had one of my dogs attack me, and it's right, and I was pregnant, and it was a vicious attack, and it was a rescue dog, and it was a Chinese chow, and Chinese chows were known to go into the villages to clean out the villages after war during the Chinese. And I had just got him cut, and my cousin reached down to pet him because he looked so cute. And I think she went a little bit too aggressive in his face, and I stood in between them. And so I guess it kind of caught him and he latched on. So it took me a minute, now, and I will be honest with you, I could not trust him at that point. So I had to get rid of him. And animals have a mind of their own. They are not under our control. You'll take a dog out, sometimes they'll run out in the street, or they'll be aggressive with another dog, or they'll just sit there and won't do anything. Coaching and mentoring is a love language.
Yeah.
It is a conversation, and they have to know that they're comfortable with you, that they're going to be protected by you, but also they are also very protective. What do you say to a person that has a newly adopted dog that they just brought into their house with their children? What are some of the first steps that they should, number one, consider? Because you'll see like 101 Dalmatians. Everyone in California had a Dalmatian. And then all of a sudden by Christmas time, they were back at the shelter because they didn't realize what they needed. You need to be cautious and research the breed. So tell us, what would you recommend?
Yeah, and I think I can talk a little bit because we had the rescue dog as well. If you get a rescue dog, there is a dog with, I call it a backpack full of experiences that we don't know. We don't know what happened. We don't know how they react. So if you get a rescue dog, the most important thing is that you have patience. You need to have a lot of patience, and you need to start to understand the language of your dog. If you don't understand when your dog is happy, confident, anxious, worried, aggressive, reactive, all those things, if you don't understand the difference, then you will have a hard time because you will always be too late with your reaction. And it's so easy with any of those behavior that they show you. It is their way of communicating with you. So if we don't pick up on that communication, then we are not helping the dog in the right way.
Right. Now, cats. Cats are different. Okay.
Yes.
They're very different. Do you work with cats as well?
I did animal communication for cats as well, but cats are a lot different. And And you see that too, right? If you talk with people, it is very often a difference between dog people and cat people. They're
I'm a
not
dog
always the
person. Yeah.
same, right?
Yeah.
So there is a difference in the people too. We have like we love just more one or the other, and that's okay. So cats have more a mind of their own, but it is still an animal. It is still an animal who loves the attention.
Hmm.
And of course, there are cats who don't like any attention, but many times there's something happened why they just avoid the attention.
Let's take it to puppies or kittens. You have an opportunity, just like a brand new baby, to allow them to know who you are, to mentor them, to discipline them, to reward them. And I'm just going to say this out front. Don't hit the animals like you don't hit your kids. But you have to have a form of discipline. Our little dog had a cute little fluffy kind of house that he would go in, and I would tell him, to your condo.
Oh, that's a good word.
Right, that he had a condo, and he would go there, and he knew that he was in timeout. He knew, and when they tear up something, or when they are when they urinate or defecate in the house, you have all of these things that you have to go through with them in the training process. When you have puppies and kittens, what are some of the things that you recommend that we do from the onset?
All right. I love this question because this is a question that comes up a lot. And the number one thing is that as soon as you get a dog, if it's a puppy or a rescue dog, you need to work on your relationship with the dog. The dog needs to see you, it needs to value you, it needs to want to be with you, right? That's the number one. And if we don't build value and if we don't put work in that relationship, they are looking for other things. Right? So that's important. If we want the dogs in the future to come to us, then we need to be value that they want to come to us, right? So we need to start from day one to build value, value to make that relationship really deep. So that's number one. And number two, there is a big mistake that lots of people make is that we already, when a puppy comes, we give them all the freedom and then tell them, no, you're not allowed to do that. And you're not allowed to do this. And you're not to do that. Well, why are we giving so much freedom? Why don't we make it smaller and build the confidence in a smaller area or in a room or in a gated area or something first, and then make that bigger while they are growing and see your value?
Ah, okay. So that's why a lot of people move towards crate training. That
Yeah,
that's yeah, that's one of the things that they do right away is they say, okay, let's start in a smaller, more contained area, and then they know that this is where they're going to be. This is what they need to do. But also, I don't understand this puppy the getting on the pee pads. I don't know how they get them to do that.
it again, like if you make the area small enough and the dog start to see that that is the place and I'm rewarded if I do it there, they
Mm,
can make it wider and wider while the pee pads are still there.
okay.
Right?
Okay.
So, but that's what I mean. We have high expectations that our dogs knows it already, but we forget that we need to put education in it first.
Absolutely. And patience and love. And just
Yes.
like with children, you reward for effort.
Yes, and it's not if you get a puppy, don't expect that when you get the puppy that the next day it can be for 8 hours on their own in a crate and still happy. That's not how it works. I
Um,
always every time when I got a new puppy, I took a week or two off and work with them to make them familiar because if you put your dog right away in a crate because you need to work, your timing isn't right and your dog doesn't understand why it gets locked up while it needs to pee and you also get mad because they did it but they didn't know yet.
right, right. My friend taught her dog to ring a bell. I thought that was the cutest little thing. Every time she would take the dog out, she would ring the bell.
Yes.
And then she found out after about 6 weeks, the dog would hit the paw and ring the bell when they had to pee. I thought that was the cutest thing ever. Training an animal. How do you train an animal? I mean, it's repetition.
Yes.
But I love that when they, my sister-in-law taught her dog how to put his little paws up and pray. I see the woman on YouTube that has taught her dog yoga moves. I thought that was incredible. How do you begin to start training your dog to do behavioral things? Well, we talked about behavior, but talk to to train them to do, tricks or
Yeah.
fun
You know
stuff.
what? You need to work with the curiosity your dog shows, right? So if your dog does something and you're like, hey, I can make a behavior of that. I can learn to do that on a command. That's where you start, right? It's very often that from a curiosity of the dog starts to do something and you're like, you're doing it great. So your dog is like, I don't know what I did, but I think if I do it again, I might get rewarded again. That's how it goes, right? And I don't know if you can still remember, but I know from my school time, you had the Pavlov theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Right.
Pavlov
Bravo
theory
dog. Mhm.
is really easy. It is so they had lots of kennels with dogs, and they started to ring the bell just before they feed the dogs. So what happened? The bell ring, and then they got the reward of the food, right?
Right.
So anytime when the bell rings, what was the expectations of the dogs? The
Gee.
food is coming, right? So, but they changed that situation as well. What they also did is that they gave food and then ring the bell to another group of dogs. Do you think that the same effect of the bell was when the food was before?
No.
No, because the reward
No
was
answer.
before.
There was no anticipation of a reward.
Right. So if you talk about the dog who rings the bell before because they need to pee, the dog, I bet they know that they need to go through the door and the bell is beside the door in the beginning, right?
Uh-huh.
So in the beginning, it might be on purpose that they do it. And you are like, oh, you want to go out? Perfect, right? So the reward is you going out and it's after the bell.
Right.
So
Right.
that is how you start to do. So your reward always need to come after the thing that you want.
Mm.
So that is the positive reinforcement where we train that. And I even bring in a little bit of choice. So if you bring choice for your dog and you have a behavior that you want him to do, but they still have opportunity to do others, but you ignore all the other behaviors, but you reward that one behavior, your dog is really quick in figuring out that is really making sense.
Okay. Now, you do incredible work with therapy dogs. Talk to us, number one, about the psychological attachment and emotion that we have. There's a lot of people now with post-traumatic stress disorder. There's a lot of people, and we're going to talk about this too, that take advantage of that and say that they are therapy dogs and they're not, quote unquote, medical therapy dogs. They may be an emotional support. All of your animals are emotional support, but really
Yes, you're
finding that
totally right.
but defining that, because I was on an airplane, brains, let me tell you, I was hotter than fish grease. Next to me was a 40-pound German Shepherd. I said, oh no, we're not gonna ride 5 hours from New York like this. No, we're not. The animal didn't say anything, but I did not know the temperament of the animal. Animals can also feel your emotion and your anxiety. uh,
Yes.
I'll be real honest with you, I didn't want to be downwind for 5 hours of an animal. They still are animals. They still have a different smell. They shed hair. Or it was just uncomfortable for me. So I talked to the stewardess, and luckily for me, she upgraded me to first class. But what's the fine line here? Number one, let's talk about the emotional support, the importance and the value that brings. But then also the seriousness of really, honoring that for people that have these challenges versus somebody that just wants their poodle sitting next to them.
All right, I will try to do that a little bit because it's really hard. Everybody has his own perspective in there, but I will try to tell you the way how we see it. So there's service dogs, and service dogs are the dogs who are helping people with a handicap, right? People who are blind, deaf, or even people who have seizures or things like that. But they are always marked with service dog.
Right.
Right? But a service dog is specific for that person, not for others. A therapy dog, what I do with my dog, I am bringing my dog to nursing homes, to retirement homes, to schools, high schools, like all places where people can use that little bit extra support. But a therapy dog is for everyone there. So it's not, but I need to be there because we are a team and you are assessed as a therapy dog with your owner because you need to react right on any situations that happen. We don't want situations that they start to react on things, right? So a therapy dog is literally for people. And like a dog is, or actually every animal, because you have a lot of horses as well who do that.
A lot of people are into horse therapy now.
Yeah, but dogs, it's a little easier to have a dog than a horse. Not everybody is able to have a horse, but a dog is there and feels your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So your energy is felt by the dog, and the dog is full of compassion to comfort you, to make you feel safe. And that is where the therapy dog is such an unique program to make people feel safe to show emotions, because I've never seen a dog who tells you, hey, you cannot show that emotion here.
And you know, another thing that they're doing on the flip side, they're taking a lot of these rescue animals into the prisons and allowing the prisoner to find that comfort, that security, that love by training and being responsible for the dogs. So it is definitely a duality there when it comes to a service dog.
And this is a great part that you bring that up, because dogs, they read energy. So in prison, where they feel the same way as those dogs feel in those kennels, right? If you match them, they are understanding each other on the same frequency.
Wow.
So that is, so even if you go to a place where there's lots of dogs, that doesn't mean that every dog is your friend. There's always specific dog that you kind of attract.
Right.
That are the dogs who are the same frequency as you are.
Because you'll go to an animal shelter and you'll walk down and you'll see one dog that'll do tricks and everything and says, hey, I'm the one for you. You know, I like you, lady. And then there's other ones that are kind of shy and timid. You can tell right away who kind of draws and who matches with your energy.
Yeah, because that is the energy level where we have, and it's very often past experiences that are still within us that kind of guide us to the right dogs who have same experiences. So we got the rescue dog in the time that we were in COVID lockdown. So my daughter at that time, she emotional, it wasn't that easy in the COVID time, right? With mental health and everything. So having a dog who was always there and was beside her, and even if people were not always easy to her, she felt much better.
Right.
But also the dog who was a rescue dog, and we were the fifth owner who didn't have any confidence in any person, they matched. Right? So, and that's what I try to say with my book as well. The dog that you get is for you. It's exactly the match that you need. You might not want to see it, but it's exactly what you need.
If you apply that patience. And
yes.
You work with the dog. I mean,
but that is the
I see people that live in these high rises here. And another thing, Brains, before we get too far, clean up after your animals. Take the poopy bag out. If you wouldn't leave a dirty diaper laying around for your child, you are a puppy parent. That annoys me so much when these people live in these beautiful high rises. They come down, and in my opinion, you know, maybe some work from home, maybe others don't, but this animal is trapped in this place for 5, 6 hours. They want to get out, they want to sniff. You get out and you're walking them downtown and they do their business. You don't clean up after them. Have a little sand or some flour or something in case their incontinence is loose. Sprinkle it over there, but be respectful because, again, this is your responsibility for your animal.
Yes, responsibility. That's a big one. Do we take responsibility for our dogs, right? That is part of it.
Right. Okay, so now we talked a little bit about that, and I know we want to just kind of brush the surface of this, but people that, again, kind of take liberty on their animals being with them. I saw this one woman, she was dressed to the nine and her dog was dressed just like her, and she talked to the dog and she says, well, let's go in here and find us a table. They went into the restaurant. I get that. But then when someone spoke up and said, you know what, I really don't feel comfortable paying a minimum of $40 a plate sitting next to an animal. And she got indignant. This is my emotional support animal and I feel blah, 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 blah. I've got my own personal feelings about that too, but I'm an animal lover. I don't know if we have migrated too far, being too understanding, liberal, whatever. I don't know. Maybe restaurants should be like smoking places where there's a designated place where everyone can feel comfortable and your animals can sit there. There's some restaurants that have water bowls, and treats. I mean, look, Starbucks, you can go get a puppuccino. All those things. I don't know.
But it's true what you said. It's every dog is an emotional support dog. And I know with the mental health where we are in this world, there's people who rely on dogs a lot more than like years and years ago. So I understand that people see their dog as the only way to go to those places. But we still need to be aware that we cannot expect from everyone that is the new normal.
Right. And and be kind and be courteous on both sides. If you are the animal owner, or if you're the person at the restaurant, or you are the hostess or the host at the restaurant,
I know in the Netherlands where it's a little easy. In Canada, you're not allowed to have any dogs in restaurants, but in Netherlands, it was a little bit easier. But it was also that it's what you said, there is a designated area or it is more on the side. So not everybody sees the dogs. And the time that I had dogs with me, nobody knew.
Right. And
that's how it should be, right?
And the safety of your animal. If it is a hot day, and it's hot for you, don't you think it's hot on their bare paws?
Yes. Don't walk on asphalt at that time. Yeah.
Don't walk on asphalt, or if you do, you're going to have booties, or just wait till it cools off.
Yes.
Because they're not going to be able to tell you, oh, my paws are burning. They're going to continue to try to walk or whatever, and then they're blistered and they're injured because of that.
Yeah, but now you say about the hot weather, because in your area it's pretty hot, but here it's pretty cold too. And if you put the ice caps on the ground to melt the ice, that's really bad on their paws too.
Oh, so, really?
Yeah, it is. So
yeah. When they put the salt on it?
Yes, the salt, or they have that blue kind of little stones that they put on it, but it's full of chemicals and it's not good for the dog. And don't walk there. Like, if you want to shovel your laneway, your dogs are fine. But as soon as you put salt, or even the salt will kind of goes in their paws, and
then the first thing they do is they lick their paws.
They lick their paws. Yeah.
Wow, so, No, because again, it's not that cold here, so I wouldn't have thought of that. That's good.
But it is here.
But also leaving your animal in the car.
Mhm.
Their temperature is what? It goes up 10, 15 degrees hotter than what it is inside, and you've cooked their little brains. You
Yeah.
crack the window, but cracking the window is not necessarily ventilation. It's hot. That sun is coming through those windows. They're sitting there on your leather seats. It's awful. So don't take your dog out. Leave your
And
dog at home.
it all comes back to responsibility, right?
It should be a checklist. And teach your kids responsibility. They wanted the dog, but they won't feed it. They won't walk it. My daughter, she wants me to be a grand muppy. She wants to get a puppy so bad. I said, yeah, but are you going to walk the dog? Because the dog needs to get out. Can you imagine? They're sleeping, what, 8, 10 hours a day. They want to get out. They want to sniff. They want to stretch their legs. You've been in and out of the door 4 or 5 times. What is the mental psyche? Because there's a lot of people that, again, live in these high rises that have these dogs, I mean, big dogs sometimes, that don't get out. Does that affect them?
I think every dog needs exercise, but there is a different exercise. There is mental exercise, right? Their minds. It's good to play games with them where they need to think, where they make choices, because that helps them to build confidence as well. And then you have the physical exercise, and that is a little bit with the breeds. Like one breed needs more exercise than the other. So it's not like big dogs or small dogs that need more or less exercise. It is more breeds that will tell you. On the other side, if you get a dog, do a little bit of research and figure out if that dog fits with you.
Mhm.
Even if it's a rescue dog and you think that you're rescuing, but you don't give the time or the activity that it needs, do you really need to do that then?
Right, right. That can end up being cruel.
Yeah. Yeah. You can feel that you rescued the dog, but on the other side, if you rescue a dog and bring it back, that's not cool for the dog too.
No, it's not. And another thing, it's not just cats and dogs these days. Birds. My mother loved birds. I didn't relate to the bird. I did. What did the bird? The bird didn't do a whole lot for me, but she would like to see it chirp, and it just I didn't bond. Rabbits, um, guinea pigs, or pigs. People are getting all of these tigers, lions. People are getting all these exotic animals, and they really don't maybe have done the research, but oh, it's so cute. Let's get my daughter a rabbit. And you have no idea of how to take care of a rabbit. The rabbit's hair mats and their ears, they're floppy. You got to clean their ears. It's a lot. Parents should really take that into consideration. Everyone should take that into consideration when being a pet parent. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. Yes, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. But again, it's responsibility. You need to know what you're doing. And about the exotic animals, I think that people are going into the extremes.
They are.
But it's only fun for a little bit, and then they quit, or what else they do.
Well, here in California, they have had raids where people are keeping tigers and lions, right? As if it's like it's a little tabby cat. And their temperament is different. They're used to the wild. Their mindset is different. Who wants to be in cage when you're used to being a wild animal? Now, you had experience with that because you worked at the zoo. Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about your work at the zoo.
Yeah, so I think you can compare it a little bit with the zoo. So working in a zoo is working with animals in captivity, right? And in Europe, so I did that in Europe still. And in Europe, there is a lot of programs where they breeds within the zoos to kind of share with other zoos. So it's not very often that you see wild animals coming into the zoos. It's mostly animals that are already born in captivity. So they never knew how it was in the wild. But their heart is still there, right? So I get that. So that means that when you keep animals in captivity, you need to make sure that you keep them entertained with, it could be with food, with finding food, or with games, or with mentally. But if you are not aware what your animal needs, then you're not helping him to thrive in life.
Right, right. And again, I see that. Like the pandas. We love the pandas here in San Diego. They come from China and they get to share in that. You
And,
see the baby giraffes. I got a blessing. I was in Thailand this year, and one of my spirit animals is an elephant.
oh,
And I got to go to the elephant sanctuary, and I forever changed. The conversation that I had with that elephant was as if I was speaking the same language. She looked me right in the eyes. She let me wash her. I fed her, and I looked at how maternal she was, how she protected the little baby elephant was jumping all on the fence or whatever. And she hit her with the trunk. It's like, no, get down. That's not what you're supposed to do. They traveled in prides, and they have mahouts. And the mahouts live with that particular animal until the animal's extinct. And that could be 60 years. So the mahout lives with that animal, or their children live with that animal. That is wonderful. Tell us some of the animals that you got to work with when you were working with them.
oh, and it is a blessing. I have worked with elephants as well in the zoo, and in the zoo where I worked at that time, that was the first zoo where I worked. That was in Amsterdam, and in Amsterdam they don't work with the animals, so the animals are only there to kind of show that they have
Hmm.
animals, but they are not allowed to be with the animals because they are not trained. However, you can still build a relationship. And it's the same way as you build a relationship with a person. You need to be honest. You
Hmm.
need to do what you say that you do, right? And you cannot fake you cannot fake that with an animal because they get you right away. They are
Right.
much bigger, you know that.
I,
So it is.
I learned a lot because I got an opportunity to go behind the scenes at the zoo here in San Diego, which is one of the world renowned zoos. But what I learned from the silverback gorilla was about eating and being a vegetarian. When you look at some of the strongest animals in the animal kingdom, they're vegetarians.
Yes, yes,
The
yes.
the elephant, the silverback gorilla, the oh God, what else? Giraffes, rhinos. You don't see them consuming meat.
No, no.
And it really lets you put in perspective, or when you look at the other ones that are meat eaters, they eat the water soluble part. So when there's a lion or a tiger that kills, they eat the liver, they eat the kidney, they eat the heart, and they leave the skin and the carcass for the buzzards.
Yes. Yeah. And but this is again, so why are we afraid for those big animals?
Mm-hmm.
Because we didn't respect them,
Mm.
right? It's all about respect and understanding. So this world, they kind of show us how we need to be scared from elephants, giraffes, rhinos, gorillas, whatever. We need to be scared of them because they do silly things. But if you build a relationship based on trust, that's a whole different story. And that is exactly what I try to do with the dogs. I want to go back to a relationship based on trust, on understanding of each other. And
Mm.
and animals are pretty good in, if you make a mistake, they will forgive you,
Yeah, they're pretty forgiving. They are. So
right?
tell us a little bit about your book. I'm excited. Show us the book. Tell us what's inside and what we have to look forward to being the change for your dog.
Yes, yes. I will read a little bit.
Yes,
But be
please.
the change for your dog um, is it's a powerful concept, and it's rooted in the idea that individual actions can profoundly impact your dog's behavior, and that is where responsibility comes back, right? So by embodying the principles in this book, you contribute to a positive ripple effect that can inspire your dog and lead to a long-term transformation. So we're not going from, I want to fix this, I want to fix it forever. And that's what a relationship does, right? So your actions, grounded in personal responsibility and authenticity, they foster a more compassionate and equitable relationship with your dog. And that's where it's all about. So only building a relationship built on a trust will make it a deeper relationship long term. And it's kind of funny because yesterday I was walking with my dogs in our backyard and they heard all kind of things. So we had three and they were running, and one was like really alarmed and heard something and was running around. And the young one, the black one, it's only 1.5, and her ears were up and she was like looking for, what is going on? I don't get this yet. And then a stick fell out of the tree just because it was windy, right? It just fell out of the seat. And it scared her so much. So she jumped up in my arms. She was with me and licking
Oh,
me. And she
wow.
was like, I'm confident with you. And
Oh,
that's what we want. We want that if something happens, that they know that they can borrow my confidence
mhm.
instead,
That's
right?
beautiful.
So those little things are just they show that your dog needs that confidence. Every dog should be confident, just like every person, right?
Right, right. And that they speak a different language. You know, I used to tell my husband all the goes, he goes, why is he whining? I said, he's talking to me. You don't speak bark. I speak bark. But just like a child, you know, they have different cries.
Yes, you can hear the
And
difference,
here, you
right?
can hear the difference when they're hungry or when they're wet or when they're in pain. Same thing with your animal. They will whine, they will whimper, they will scratch. If they're not feeling good, sometimes they, you know, they'll go up under the bed and you're wondering why the dog is not coming out. They're not feeling good. Or if they're urinating and defecating where they've never done before, they could be sick.
Yeah.
If they are, you know, constantly chewing at their paws or gnawing or scratching, it can be their food. Food allergies are huge when it comes to dogs.
Yes, gut health is as important for dogs as it is for us, right?
You know, off the record, we're not going to name any brands, but what do you think of all of this advertisement about the dog having this new dog food? You know, it used to be where you would give your dogs the scraps off the table years ago, and it would be absolutely fine. Then all of a sudden, they came to this genetically engineered and modified kibble. Then you had these little moisture packs of food. Well, I thought I was being kind. I gave my dog that moisture little packet of food, and I tell you, Ariane, the dog, he had an odor like I could not believe. And I'm like, I keep you clean. What is all of this? It was a food allergy and it was
Yeah.
coming out in his skin.
Yes. Yeah. Food is a big one. And it like what that's a good one because before we train dogs, we need to make sure that they are safe and that they're healthy, right? And if a dog is not healthy and communicates to you with their behavior, hey, something is wrong, and we try to correct that behavior, what do you think happens with his voice?
Mm.
It will be gone and he will not express his feelings the way it is. And then he will either way, and you see that with reactive dog, he either way, he will not show you anymore that he's uncomfortable with kids or whatever. And if you don't see it and his voice is gone, he will attack out of nowhere. So
Mhm.
it's really important that we know that our dogs are healthy before we want to change any behavior.
And a shout out to veterinarians. I really didn't realize this until I was doing a little bit of research before I talked to you. The exorbitant amount of veterinarians that commit suicide. Here in the United States, I had no idea. And I personally would have thought that wouldn't have been an epidemic because they are saving the lives of these animals. But there's a lot of people that go in, they see the amount of the bill, they don't want to, pay the doctor for what they're worth because they're medical doctors' brains. Don't get it confused. And it's even more intense because they can't say, oh, it hurts right here or this, that, and the other. They have to do the deep dive. They spent a lot of money, years, and training. And then the person will say, okay, well, then just euthanize my animal or don't come back and get them or completely abandon them. So shout out to all veterinarians, all caregivers for animals because they are loved, they are respected, they're honored, and we want to appreciate you for what you do and the sacrifices that you make to save their lives. So I want to thank you for that. You have been a wealth of information. I am so glad to have you because I am a dog lover. The coyotes jumped over my fence, kidnapped my dog, and had him for dinner. I know, and I have been devastated ever since. And so I had an animal communicator on my show, and she channeled his energy. And she told me things that nobody knew, and I know that she didn't know. And he told her that I was a good mother, and thank you for rescuing him, and that he was fine. And brains know the dog is God spelled backwards, and all dogs go to heaven. Tell us how to get a copy of your book. I'd love for them to chat with you, to work with you if they are there in Canada, to be able to connect with you if they need a service dog or need direction in that area. You're a wealth of information.
Yeah, I would love to connect with it. I'm on Facebook with Arianne de Rond. So I don't know if you put some of the links down here. So I'm there. That is where I'm the most active. I am on LinkedIn. I'm in Instagram. I'm on YouTube a little bit, but I'm starting that up. So I'm not there as much. You get the book, and it's the easiest way is with my website. It's joyfulsupport.com. And then you go to book, and there you can see the book is available over Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Chapters Indigo, Apple, I think. There's a whole lot of ways that you can get your book, but it's all on the website, so you can choose from there. And if you want to connect, you can connect on the website too, or you send me a Facebook message. Or I don't know if you come on under here.
Put all of your contact information down below. Is that joyfulsupport.com? Is that CA or just .com?
No, .com.
Okay, .com. And Brains, what I'd like for you to do is make this a #1 bestseller. This is a gift that you can give to your children so that they can learn to respect and appreciate. This is a gift that you can give to someone that is maybe looking for an emotional support animal or looking for a therapy dog or someone that is just an animal lover. This is a great gift, and it's a great read. So I appreciate you. I value you. And again, Brains, go out and get a copy. All of our information will be there at the bottom. You have been so much fun and great to talk to.
Thank you. And do it for your dog. And it is the dog who brings you here, but it is the dog who helps you to become a better person. And I end my book is Dogs Make Us Better People If We Let Them. So there you go. Do it.
Do it. Do this too. Go in and love, like, share, and subscribe. Love, like, share, and subscribe to On the Edge with April Mahoney. There are great interviews. We've got this one. We've got other interviews with channelers that if you're looking for someone to channel the energy, we've got trainers. you know, just all kind of great stuff. Over 2,000 episodes. Thank you, Arianna, so much for being on the edge with us, and we look forward to you and all the wonderful work that you do with animals. We appreciate
Thank you so much for inviting me here, and it was a pleasure to do this with you. Thank you.
Bye, Brains.
Bye.